How we doing in the back?
Good.
You here okay?
Yeah.
I like how the front row is always. All right, let me get rid of some of these things here. So yes, my name is Jeremy Davidson, if you don't already know and didn't get that idea by the flyer there. So what I'm going to talk about today is called signs, and there are signs everywhere we go, and the most obvious example of these types of signs are street signs. You know, we drive all around and, you know, there's stop signs, you have to stop, and the reason why there are street signs and road signs and things like that is to kind of keep everybody safe. These are signs that are for everyone. And then you go around town or, you know, wherever you're going and you see other types of signs, such as billboards. You know, there's billboards for different products and services. And then you see also digital signs that have, you know, those are the cool signs that change different advertisements and things like that. And there's also things like signs on Facebook. Again, these are advertisements. And I'm a marketing guy, so I really like signs, and that's why I'm talking about signs today. And so, but what these signs serve as, especially when you're marketing as a business, is they're like guideposts. They're guideposts that kind of get you to, attract you to a product or a service that a specific company is trying to sell. But these are the most obvious signs that we see in our daily lives, but that's not the signs I really want to talk about here. The ones I want to talk about are more personal. They're the signs that, you know, others won't see, that they're there just for you. Now they might see, but they're not going to have the same kind of meaning for you. Now there are many ways that these signs can come forth. Depending on what you pay attention to, there are things like animals, for example. Animals will come across your path at different times in your life to give you a message if you're open to it. There are other signs like numbers, which is the main one I'm going to focus on. I'm a student of vibrational numbers and numerology, and I see numbers everywhere. I mean, not just, oh yeah, of course, there's numbers everywhere, but like I'll be driving behind a license plate and I'll see a number combination that really fits something that's happening in my day or in my life at the time. It happens with phone numbers, it happens on receipts, and it's just an amazing thing. And I just marvel at the amount of messages I get through these numbers. And so, again, one of the things that I want to iterate in this talk is when you pay attention to these signs, they can serve as guideposts on your journey. So, does anybody remember the film Bruce Almighty? Good. Okay. You remember? This is a great example in that movie. He's driving down the road and he's like, God, show me a sign. And this truck pulls out and there's all these signs in the back, wrong way, stop, don't go this way, you know. And he's like, oh, what's this guy doing, you know. And that's a great example of if we're not really aware of these signs, that you're not going to see them. And so what I'm going to do today is talk about a recent event, sort of. It's a longer event. It took about a month or so that happened in my life after I'd gotten a new job, and I saw so many signs along the way, and I didn't even know how it was developing into the ability to turn it into a talk along the way. But I'll kind of show you how it developed. It's a really cool, good concrete thing, like real life example of how I was able to apply these signs. And I saw signs of all sorts, but I'm going to stick with numbers on this one. So at the beginning of, I'm going to say August, I was listening to Jim Rohn. And if you know who Jim Rohn is, Tony Robbins credits Jim Rohn as being his mentor. And he's got a lot of good things that he talks about. And Jim Rohn was kind of popular through the 70s, through the 1970s, the 1990s. But one of the things that I was pulling from this at this time was to keep a journal. And you know, people tell you to keep a journal all the time. There's all kinds of good reasons to keep a journal. But what really stuck with me was, you know, keep a journal, keep it in one spot. Don't write notes here, notes there. Keep it on the computer, keep it on notebooks, because then you can't really go back to it very efficiently. And that's what I was doing. I was making notes. I had notes stuck in these folders, that folders on the computer. And so I started keeping a notebook. around the 1st of August, and so that I could go back to notes, and what turned out to be very good for this talk. And so, but I began writing in this journal. It was a week before the solar eclipse. I'm just going to kind of put that in there, just so you kind of have a reference point. I'm sure you all remember where you were at the solar eclipse. We were all doing this. I wrote an entry in there marveling at the fact that there were going to be millions of people around the world with their head up in the sky. Like, what would that look like if somebody came down and visited our planet or something? And of course, here we had a lot of clouds, but that's okay. It was still a wonderful experience, and there are symbology to solar eclipses, but I'll leave that for another day. You can kind of look that up on your own, because they're kind of there's mixed things on that. But at this time, when I was doing this, I just started a job. I had been home for a couple months with my family, and the job had some warning signs, but I was like, I know I need to be. This is where I need to be. To be honest, my wife wasn't excited about it, but I said, look, I'm telling you, there's something about this. I've got to do it, and so I did. And but as that happens, sometimes I'm sitting at home and I'm praying or meditating, and I'm just thinking to God, like, I still want to do that thing that's a greater impact. I love speaking. This is probably my dozen or so talk, and I'm not sure how, but BJ, is there a way to ever get rid of the jitters and still hear?
No, I still have them.
Okay, good.
Humor's a good help, though.
But I think I'm like, I really love the message of Jesus, and I have so many great stories of how it's helped me in my life, and how it's carried me, and I can just pinpoint it. And since I pay attention to things like signs and numbers, I just really like to do it. And so I was just thinking about, writing, maybe I could do some blog, and more talk. Sometimes I think about being a minister, like I thought of a while back, but ultimately I was just thinking about these things, and so the first move I decided to do was obviously schedule this talk. And so I did. And at this time I was seeing the combination of numbers that were prominent for weeks were ones and threes. And what ones and threes do is they ask you to surrender your goals and desires to Spirit and ask for guidance in regards to what is to manifest in your life. The universe is aware of where you are in your path and want to help and assist you along your path. Now, I should probably stop and say that when it comes to numerology, there are many references out there, and there's several ways to kind of look at it, of how the vibration of numbers affect you. But the one resource that I used is a website called Sacred Scribes, and what she does is she takes the combinations of the numbers. She's been doing this for many, many years, and puts a little blog post of all numbers from 1 up to. She's been doing it for 5 years, and she's still going. She's up to 4,000, I think. So I'm able to go onto this site and just kind of reference the numbers. And so that was kind of my message for the beginning of August. Is just ask for guidance, and it will manifest in your life. So now August 23 rolls around. I'm writing in my journal still, and this is 2 days after the solar eclipse, just to kind of give you the time frame. I'm journaling about my family and how important they are, and how much they mean, and how that they're just the most important thing in my life. And I'm listening to music, and sometimes music inspires me to write, and I get all these ideas. And I'm still thinking about ways to make an impact in the community. How can I use my skills to make an impact in the community? I'm a salesperson. I love marketing. How can I do that? And also use my desire to spread messages of God and Jesus and Christ and that sort of thing. And so as I'm doing that, I brought out a video of Earl Nightingale. Now, if you don't know who Earl Nightingale is, he is a speaker from the 1950s forward. In 1950, he made a record. It was about a 30-minute record, and it was kind of a speech to his sales team. And it was about how to, it wasn't like how to make more sales, but it was like deep, and it was how to manifest things in your life so that you can get more sales. And basically, it's kind of a 30-minute way of saying, ask and it shall be given unto you. There's a couple of things that I wrote down that were really important to this, and it was after midnight, and it was a really good day, and I just really didn't want to go to bed. And there was something that he said that stuck me, which is 1 out of 20 deliberately does something in their life, and that's what makes them a success. Because you're saying only 1 in 20 are truly successful. Now, what makes people successful is not the amount of money in their bank account, although that typically is a correlation, but it's somebody that does a predetermined goal and continues going about doing it, such as the examples were like a housewife. If a housewife does well with her children and is doing a predetermined goal and is good at it, that's a success. You know, the salesperson that goes out and does that, they're a success. Somebody who runs the corner gas station, that's what they really wanted to do. They're a success because they're doing what they really wanted to do. And I'm listening, and there's this part where he kind of comes to a high point. He says, "This, if you really understand this, what I'm about to tell you, it will change your life for the better." And he says, "We become what we think about." And so I just stopped the tape right there. And I just thinking about that. We become what we think about. Okay, I'm going to write that. I'm going to print that out and put it on our house so I can see that every day. I mean, I know that thoughts, create our realities and things. But it was just the way he said it. It was really impactful. And I always like when I hear this stuff from a long time ago. So being that it was from 1950, I really enjoyed it. So I stopped the recording and I looked at the clock, and it was 1:11. Now, being the numerology student I am, I know what 111 means, but I'm going to read it for you here just so you can kind of correlate to what's building here. So number 1 resonates with assertiveness, independence, uniqueness, motivation, new beginnings, striving forward, insight, self-leadership, inspiration, positivity, and achieving success. Now, when you combine the 3 together, it's like a triple amplified effect. And the message is to be very aware of your persistent thoughts and ideas as these are manifesting quickly into your reality. Ensure that your beliefs, thoughts, and mindsets are positive and optimistic in order to draw the energies of abundance and balance into your life. That's basically what Earl had just told me. We become what we think about, so I'm right on time here. And it goes on to say, choose your thoughts wisely. Do not put your focus towards fears as they may manifest. Pay special attention to your thoughts and ideas as these are revealing your answers to prayer. It also encourages you to assist and inspire the human race via your natural abilities, relying upon inner wisdom, intuition to guide you, be an inspirational guiding light for others to follow, and the angels will support you in your light work. Once 111 appears and is recognized and acknowledged, you start to get other number sequences. Now, I kind of read more of that just so I didn't take all that. Mostly what I took at that point was we become what we think about that was in that angel number. And I just thought that was really cool that as I got that and stopped and really kind of internalized that, I looked at the clock and it's 1:11. So I turned it back on. I started to listen to Earl this morning. And he's talking about this 30-day test. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details. It's a simple test, and there's some things that are kind of associated with it. But the idea of the test is you take an index card. On one side of the card, you put the goal that's most important to you in your life at this time. It can be any kind of goal, but it has to be concrete and measurable. And so I took that and I made a modification, and I put down 2 goals. And on the other side, and I'll tell you those goals in a second. On the other side of the card kind of goes back to the song that Natalie just sang, and that is the words from the Sermon on the Mount. Ask, and ye shall receive, and knock, and it shall be opened unto you. So on one side of the card, you got your goal, and on the other side, you've got the promise from Jesus that what you ask for, you will receive from the Sermon on the Mount. So what I decided to put on the first card had to do with the job I currently had. And so to give you an overview of what I was doing, I had this map of Fort Riley, that is produced by the company I work for. It's a contractor. And around the map, advertisers pay to advertise, pay for the space to advertise on this map, and that's how it's funded. And so, we get the map out to all the incoming soldiers and new people to post. So I had this map, and I was looking at it like a canvas, like a blank canvas, and I wanted to do the best I could and get the best type of businesses. And it was an opportunity to kind of put Manhattan. I took it as put Manhattan's best foot forward to people coming from all over the place, because I'm a former soldier. I know what it's like to come here and not know anything, and not know about anything. One thing I also noticed about this map, that there was no church presence. I saw no Christ presence. So there's no guidepost for people coming in. And the reason that really struck me is because a lot of these guys come back, from Iraq, from Afghanistan, and they have, a lot of them don't want to go to the places on post because of stigma, things like that. And so it's just little things to find. I was kind of thinking of ways, like, how can I get the presence on this map? I wanted to, I was trying to think of ways, maybe I can help fundraise with the church, and we can get it on there. Or I was just trying to think of all these ways to get it, because I didn't really think of going into a church and asking them to advertise was a good thing. Or I didn't, it's not that I didn't think that, but it was kind of hard to kind of expect that in the same way that I was taught to go approach businesses. And so I made one of my goals to get a presence on the map, and the other goal was to sell it out. And what that means is use up all the spots. Hadn't been done in 3 years, so I thought, why not? That seems like a goal that's possible. Hasn't been done. Let's see what we can manifest in this. So I did that. 6 days later, I had probably one of the greatest days of my life. I started planting seeds. I started going around in a different way than had been happening. The company kind of the way the company does things is you kind of go door to door, and you take these categories and you go and you find all these different things that make sense. Different businesses like car dealers and furniture stores and optometrists and things that the military need when they first get here. So it's kind of exhausting that. And based on reactions I was getting, I could tell that they've been visited every year. This road had been beat down. It was like fishing in a dry lake. And so I decided to start to think outside the box. And one of the very first things I did was I went to the airport, thinking, the airport could possibly benefit from this. So I went there, and on the 29th, I had one appointment, okay? And it was the airport. They decided to do it. And the airport was like my home run. I was so excited about it. They had placed the biggest ad I had done by myself. And so it was kind of like a reassurance that things were going to be all right. But I was still way behind on filling out this map. So I started with my day. This was on a Tuesday. And I went to a realtor, and he kind of turned me down. And I was like, that's all right. It's closer to a yes. Well, as I was going out to the car, I got a phone call. And that phone call was from a business that I was really hoping would place an ad, but I didn't know. It was one of my father-in-law's good friends, and he had to reach out to Arizona to get it done for the director of marketing, who was like the owner of the company's daughter. And anyway, so she reached out and was like, okay, we're ready to do this. And usually I have to reach out to them and chase people down. So that's a good start to the day. So I closed that feeling pretty good that it was, I'd used my networking abilities to get this one done, and went over to the airport. So I do we need to do to close the deal at the airport. I go out to the car. And it's important to know that whenever we close a deal, we sign electronically, and so everybody in the company gets an email that says, congratulations to so-and-so, they just closed a deal with X business for so-and-so amounts of money, and it comes in at a time. Well, the airport closed at 1:11. I'm not even kidding, the email was at 1:11, and I was just like, wow, that's awesome. That's like a complete, just a completion of what had happened, in the Earl, when I was listening to Earl Nightingale. And then, so I was feeling pretty good about things. and just smiling, just going, thank you, okay, all right. I know that we're gonna do this. We're gonna keep. I mean, because other than that, I didn't have a science that I was going to sell this thing out. It was going slower than the pace I needed, and so then it was a confirmation that the trust, self-confidence, and all of those things that go along with what I had seen with 111. I'm leaving the airport. I'm driving up Scenic, and I get a call. There's another sales rep in our area, and she sells the relocation guide, which, long story short, it's kind of like the phone book for Fort Riley. And she calls me and she says, hey, the Methodist Church just called, and they want us to come over. And I said, really? They want me to come over with the map? I thought they were only advertising with you. And she said, no, she asked for us both to come over. All I had done with the church was call them and ask them if they needed any help. Because I'm the rep in the area that actually lives here, and I would help them with their digital portion. And I mean, it was a church that my daughter had gone to for preschool, and so I just kind of wanted to, be someone in the area that they could count on, because they'd actually had a little bit of trouble. And so I went there, and I was feeling pretty good about that, because I had asked, one of the things I put on my card was to get the Christian presence on the map, and it was just delivered to me, and I didn't really have to do a whole lot. And so I was feeling pretty good about that. And we get in there, and it's taking longer than usual. Something was going wrong with the technology, and so we were kind of having a hard time, but my day's already been good, so I wasn't being frustrated. And, we get everything done. We're in there probably an hour, which is 3 times longer than we usually are. I come out to the car, and I check my email, and the church had signed the 333. If you guys know anything about numerology, you know what a blessing, and it's choking me up now. The 3 represents, this one's shorter than the 111, I just want to keep this one kind of short, but the 3 represents the principle of increased expansion, abundance on the physical, emotional, financial, and spiritual levels. 3 is the Jesus connection. And the message to me was that the Ascended Masters are near you, and Jesus is referred to as an Ascended Master in this, if you don't know that. They have responded to your prayers and wish to help and assist you in your endeavors and with serving your life purpose and soul mission. I'd already pulled over to look at this, and I almost started to cry, because you can feel it. I can't even imagine. I asked for that, and then all of a sudden I get it, and then not only do I get it, but I get a 333 with it, which kind of helps me with feel good about the signs and that sort of thing. So I'm riding really high, feeling really good. I'm one with God. I'm doing this selling thing. I'm doing the best I can, and I can't wait to get home and tell the family about it. And then all of a sudden this well, it's a verse of a song, but it was like flashed into my head. It was signs everywhere, a sign. And so my talk title came into my head that very day too. Within probably 30 minutes of me finding out about the 333 at the church, it was just incredible. So as you might imagine, I had a wonderful night at home with the family. It was probably one of the better nights we've had in a while. Good engagement with my kids and my wife. And I was so awake at night that I decided to stay up and listen to her nightingale again and soak up some more of that. We become what we think about. So I was listening to it because, I like to listen to some of these things over, because someday you hear one part of it and the other times you hear another part of the message. And the part that I really heard this time was, he was talking about success and using your goals as maps on our journey. And I was just marveling at this day that I just had, and the coincidence that my first project of this new job is a map, and all of those signs and things it was delivering. So I had this day feeling really good, okay? Deadline is 2 weeks away. I'm still behind, by the way, by projections, even though I had this great, awesome day feeling-wise, but I decided that there's no reason I can't go forth with full faith no matter what. So, there's highs and lows. If you're in sales, you know that no matter what you do, you're going to have low days and high days. It's just part of the process, and that's probably in church business all over. But, so we get up to Sunday before the map's supposed to close, which is the 10th, September 10th. The map is supposed to close on the 15th. I still had 11 spots left, which means I had to sell 2 per day, which is more than I'd done. Okay, we're gonna do this. So I went out there that week. I was hitting down some new doors that I hadn't dug down yet, trying to use my intuition. Found a couple, was trying to exhaust all the maybes that I'd gotten, but I kind of knew they weren't going to say anything. I went back to a few people that had said no, just kind of like, how am I going to do this? And then on Wednesday, I got some more good news. A church I used to attend to in town had been referred to me by, I had met with a pastor and my brother-in-law about starting a thing about faith and business in Manhattan. And they're really passionate about this, and a lot of people have a hard time mixing their faith and their beliefs with their business. And this is something that my brother-in-law is very passionate about. So we met and talked about this, and he goes, "Why don't you go over there to such and such church? It seems like something they might do." So I said, "Okay." So I went over there, and so I went over there and I talked to the marketing person about it, and I didn't really get the greatest of feeling. I was like, okay, well, I'll just return next week and see. So I returned. It was Thursday to Wednesday. I returned Wednesday, and she goes, "I was just about to call you. Great, we're looking forward to doing it." And I was like, wow. And not only are we looking forward to doing it, but we want this particular spot, and that spot was on the other side of the map. So there was presence on both sides of the map. And I was like, oh, now I'm not surprised because. But I didn't have to chase him down. I didn't have to do anything. I just walked back in, and she was standing right at the door going, "Oh, great, I was about ready to call you." And this was a church that I had gone to a long time ago, and I didn't leave with the greatest feeling towards some of the things that were happening, but it kind of came around full circle that there's nothing for you to even have any old thoughts about. Everything is great. God is working. Although I was still behind on the projection. So I started picking up sales the next couple of days, and I get to Friday afternoon, and I'm doing everything I can, and people are home. I'm visiting as many as I can. I'm too short. It's like, all right, well, I know I did what I could. Maybe somehow, some way it'll come together. So it was 5 o'clock on Friday. I went home, and I was talking to my wife. She's like, "I'm short on this. I really want to do it." She probably thought I was a little nuts that night, I'm guessing. I kept checking my email. Has anything come in? But I recounted all of my slots that I had, and I realized I missed one. So it turns out actually I was 1 short. So now I'm really like, no, I can't end 1 short. There's no way. I had a sales manager once that said, if you're 1 short, you didn't do enough. And so, I was just kind of kept checking my email, hoping that, because we send out electronic contracts, so somebody might just feel that urge and go, what, I really want to do that. Well, it didn't happen. So I went to bed going, oh, man, I really thought it was going to happen. I was kind of disappointed. I mean, I still done a great job to raise revenue, but I wanted to finish it. So I woke up on Saturday hoping that maybe some miracle had happened overnight. It didn't. And I just kept remembering, man, I didn't want to feel like you didn't do enough, 1 short. You didn't do enough. So I emailed the last one that I thought had the best chance. I emailed him. I was like, look, there's 1 spot left. I really want you to be on the map. I know you haven't even opened yet, don't have any revenue, but I really think this is going to be good for you. And it's like 9 round box. I've been avoiding kind of using names, but just so you get an idea of that. 9 round box. And so emailed me back with some questions about this. Okay, is there any way we could pay later? And I was like, well, I got this idea. I can do some trade with you. We can do a trade deal. I can come get some boxing services and we can cut it in half, which is something we're allowed to do kind of like at the last minute. I didn't hear anything back. I waited an hour. He didn't say anything. It's just probably 10 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, man, I can't go out like this. So I prepared the contract and sent it to him. And I was like, look, this is your last chance. It's your last opportunity. Basically, I threw in the Hail Mary. I waited 2 hours and I heard nothing. And so I was just kind of like, well, all right. I got to leave it up to you. I asked for this. You gave me the Christian part. That's good enough. The Christian presence on the map. That's good enough. That's fine. I remember just I put my phone down, I was sick of looking at it, waiting for it to come through, and I decided to, I don't even remember what I did, but I just put my phone away and look at it for like 2 hours. Well, right after I put my phone down, the signature came through. Of course, since it was a Saturday, they allowed me to extend my deadline by a day because there was no business to be done, and the Hail Mary worked once I finally let God handle it. And of course, I was excited after that. You know, I finished the goal, both of them went down, and you know, it's just a simple thing. It's not even something that's that impactful, but I mean, if you, on the grand scheme of things, but it is. You know, I'll never forget it. That's for sure. And the fact that I was able to put a couple of church guideposts on the map was really exciting to me. But it was my very first project. I told my sales manager, and then I got a couple emails from people within the company, and they were like, "Congratulations on doing that. That's a pretty rare accomplishment." But again, those guideposts, and just knowing that I asked for this, I had this idea of how I wanted these guideposts to be on the map, and they came, and without much effort, and I let that part go, and they came back greater than I could have even imagined. Was most definitely the best part of this whole process, and just reinforcements of that the signs work. You know, sometimes I wonder, is numerology even, you know, do these numbers really mean anything? Am I making it up? But this helped me know that no, you are getting messages, follow them. And it was just, the whole experience was just a great reminder that God is good all day, every day. Thank you.
Amen.